All right, you guys. Sorry about that. What up, what up, what up, everybody? Welcome to the channel. If you're new, don't be. Go ahead and click that subscribe button to be a part of the Witness Gang, to join the Witness Nation. Now, let's get into this, shall we? Hello, you guys, and welcome to the channel. If you're new, don't be. Go ahead. I'm Whitney. Keep it cute, get the boot. All right, you guys, welcome back. Disclaimer: this platform discusses any and all information that has been made known to the public in any way. I am not a journalist. I am a commentator. Okay. The views and opinions expressed in this video and on Whitney D TV's YouTube channel do not necessarily reflect the opinion of Whitney D and Whitney D's YouTube channel. All topics are for entertainment purposes only. Comedy, satire, TV rated mature. Viewers' discretion is highly advised. Now, all commentary is alleged, but very real. And I want to point out, thank you so very much, Katie. Okay. There we go. My bad. Fair use clause. Okay. Now, this material is protected by fair use clause of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowing the rebroadcast, okay, of copyrighted materials for the purpose of commentary, entertainment, and and education. Okay. All right, you guys. Let's go ahead and get into everything. Welcome, you guys. Welcome. I pray you guys can hear me okay, and I pray that you guys are doing well, okay? Oh my goodness. All right. First and foremost, a happy Thursday, August 18th. Here we are, you guys. Crazy enough, okay? Child, I told y'all I was not going to be reading any transcripts. I was done with the done. Just kind of wanted to do just more so article reading when it comes to R.Kelly, because it seemed like, I just sis, I just be trying to just not step on no toes. But you know what? I guess you guys said to hell with some toes, baby, because I woke up this morning with a huge blessing. And I'm just like, oh, okay. So I put some with something with my own funds, and then you guys poured in, and I was like, okay, so let me go ahead and grab these transcripts. Okay. Now we know that the trial started Monday with the jury selections and things of that nature. So I was trying to get a day that we can just get right into the thick of everything. Okay. So I got yesterday's transcripts, which was Wednesday. Okay. And I am working on Tuesday's transcripts. Okay. Or what have you, but not for nothing. Where we are starting is like you see in the title on page 530. I think it was a 534, 536. Okay. So you guys can thank the subscribers, because y'all were not playing. Y'all were like, I had people like, are you going to be discussing this trial and what's going on and stuff like that? Like I said, y'all, I was not fixing to do any of this, but you guys, like I said, this is your channel. So however you guys want us to do it, we're going to do it, child. So here I am. I was under the weather. I had a bad allergy flare up some days ago. And so I sound a little congested, so I do apologize, but I am going to read these transcripts as they come in to me. And if you guys would like to donate, you guys can please hit my Cash App. That information is going to be scrolling at the bottom, okay? But let's go ahead and get into everything, okay? So welcome you guys to Evidence Over Emotions. Let me know where you guys are tuning in from. Okay, make sure you guys keep it cute or you will get the boot up out of here. Okay, I already done put in motion to set forth my settings. Okay, so if you want to talk your ish, you're gonna have to be at least a subscriber of 5 minutes. Okay, all right. Now if you like to join the greatest show, the link is in the chat. One of my beautiful mods have posted in the chat. You can do so by clicking the link, or you can visit the description box located at the bottom of this particular video to join, okay? Now, again, if you would like to tip the hostess with the mostest, if you would like to set forth to give funds for transcripts, which will be highly appreciated, you can do so by sending it to WhitneyD TV87. Make sure in the notes you put transcripts or love offering, okay? Make sure that you do one or the other, okay? Now, if you've already purchased the transcripts and you would like to send them over to me just to be able to read them, hey, you can send it to reviewswithWhitneyD@gmail.com. Like I said, these transcripts that we're going to be reading have been sponsored, as well as I put the funds that I gathered from you guys on last year, okay, into it, okay? So your funds were saved and put forth to these transcripts. And I couldn't do, y'all want to be like, nope, I ain't reading, and y'all gave me all this money. I don't play those games. Okay, so here we are. We're gonna start on day 3. And if you guys would like to catch up, like I said, as the transcripts come into me, as I collect monies, as you guys sponsor some, I will read them. Okay, I will read them. All right. So as you guys see at the bottom, that is scrolling across the bottom, that is my information. Okay, so again, if you like to send any donations in regards to the transcripts, that's how you do so. Okay, all right, so let me go ahead and get into these comments. Okay, let me get to the comments and we're going to go ahead and get started. All right, let me see who's in the building. Hey Katie, hey Honey Bunches, hey Sonia, hey. Yes, Katie says all comments and opinions expressed are alleged and for entertainment purposes only. Okay. Hey, Linda. Hey, Kiva says, good morning, Whitney. Hey, Maz in chat. I'm at work, but I'm listening. Okay, cool beans. Yeah, just put me somewhere on and just listen to me, child. Transcript reading. Y'all know how it go. All right. Hey, Honey Bunches, Flawless Beauty. You guys go check her channel out. Okay. D&K Fashions. All right. All right, you guys. So without further ado, I'm not going to hold y'all. You know what I'm saying? Hey, JoJo. Hey, Honey Bunches. Hey. I'm not going to hold you guys any longer. We're going to go ahead and get into this good old read or whatever. Okay. All right. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay. And yes, everything is safely watermarked, child. Everything is watermarked. Okay. I learned my lesson. I'm gonna remove myself from the screen so you guys can see it in its entirety. But yeah, my watermark is presented. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna put this at the bottom so you guys can know as you guys read along what we are discussing. Okay. All right, you guys. Before we get into everything, I want to welcome everybody to Evidence Over Emotions, the road to Illinois. Okay. Okay, so if anybody comes in, you know how to greet them and let them know, hey, this is what we're discussing and on sort. Okay, so I'm gonna try to put some good old music in the background. Hold on 1 second. Let me see something real quick, y'all. I'm trying to see. I wonder if. Hold on. I wonder why it's an echo. Hold on. I wonder why it's an echo. Okay. Hold on, y'all. Got an echo going on. Do y'all hear that echo? Let me know. Let me see. Let me know if that echo went away. Thumbs up if we're all good. Thumbs up if we're all good. Can I get one thumbs up that we're all good? And I'm going to go ahead and get into this read. Just need one thumbs up. No echo. That's what I'm looking for. Okay, we good? Okay, great. All right, you guys, let me go ahead and get into it. Okay. All right. So we are starting on page 537. 536 is just, the initial hello, letting y'all know what it is. Okay. Now, this is August 17th, 2022. Again, like I said, this is yesterday's. And the reason why I got it is because I was thinking, well, let me get past all of the rigmarole, because we know on Monday the selection began. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into this read. Okay, this is the afternoon shift. All right, as y'all see, it's 2 o'clock, but y'all know it started at 10 in the morning. I am, like I said, in the process of going to get that first portion, and I'll come back and read that or what have you. But let's go ahead and start where we got, and we'll go from there. Okay. All right. So appearance continues. Okay. All right. This is for defendant Darrell McDavid, and then the appearance for MILTON, and then we know with what's his face, R.Kelly. And so it actually starts on page 538. Okay. 538, and I will update that. Okay. It's actually page 538 where we start. Okay. So let's go ahead and start from there. Okay. Proceedings heard in open court, jury out. Miss Bonjean, I would like to put something on the record. I don't think we have all counsel. The judge. Okay. Miss Bonjean, you wanted to put something on the record? Miss Bonjean. Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. Your Honor, Defendant Kelly would move for a mistrial. Prior to trial, we moved to sever our case from Defendant McDavid. As the court may recall, the response was that we were manufacturing some type of conflict. I know the court denied that motion, and I'm just, for the record, pointing out that during the opening statements, it does seem to appear that Mr. McDavid, not only intends to engage in some finger pointing. Ooh, yo. I'm gonna have to get the beginning portion of this. But what did I tell y'all? Okay, look, let's continue. Y'all, do y'all remember I said that? I said that McDavid was going to throw R. Kelly under the bus, and here we go. Let's go. Let's go. Which this court has recognized may not be sufficient to justify. Oh, hey, Warrior. Hi, Whitney in chat. Thanks for reminding me, Whitney. Yes. No problem. Um, to justify severance, but fundamentally their defense is that ultimately these video clips were in fact child pornography that just Mr. David didn't know about. So that puts Mr. Kelly in this position where he really can't defend against those claims. And also, I do have some concerns because it sounded to me as if Mr. McDavid was part of this legal team, and that communications that were conveyed in the context of this legal team could be privileged communication. So I do think this creates some problems. I'm just moving for a mistrial based on those grounds in our prior motion for severance. Thank you. Hey, Top Notch, the judge. All right, thank you. The motion is denied. I don't think that that's a problem at this point. Are we ready? Want to have the jurors come in, please? Sorry, y'all, I'm a little stuffy still. Jury in, the judge. All right, you may be seated. Miss Leon. You may give the argument for Mr. Brown, Miss Leon. Thank you, Your Honor. The judge, excuse me, opening, not argument. Opening statement on behalf of defendant Milton Brown. Miss Leon. Hindsight is 2020. The government's case against Milton Brown depends entirely on on the benefit of hindsight, right? Now, the government is asking you to view this trial against Milton Brown based on all the information that is now known in 2022. When you have the benefit of knowing more information than he had available to him in the early 2000s. Now, the government's case relies on the fact that humans have a hindsight bias, which is that human tendency of perceiving past events as having been more predictable than they truly were at the time they happened. They want you to believe that Milton Brown was part of this alleged conspiracy, but the evidence or lack thereof will prove that he was just an assistant who, day in and day out, fulfilled his employment duties. Now, he had no knowledge of the secrets that his employer, Robert Kelly. Yo, they all are pointing fingers at Robert Kelly. Yo. Yeah. Okay. Wow. 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 I gotta hit this. I gotta hit this one time for the one time. Y'all say it with me now. Oh. Y'all say it with me now. He had no knowledge of the secrets that his employer, Robert Kelly, held close and hidden from the world. Yikes. Whew. He had no knowledge of any conspiracy and no knowledge that the individual portrayed in the VHS tape was a minor. To understand why or how that is, we have to go back, way back into time. No, I'm just playing. Forget everything we now know about Robert Kelly. We have to put ourselves in the shoes of Milton Brown from the late 90s to the mid 2000s. In 1997, small town Mississippi native Milton Brown, unequipped with a high school diploma, moves to Chicago to be closer to his parents, and with dreams of breaking into the music industry, he found that opportunity. He hit the jackpot when he was offered a position to work with R. Kelly. Now, R. Kelly at the time was known as a multi-Grammy award-winning superstar with multiple platinum records, chart-topping songs, and a legion of devoted fans. This was the lens through which Milton Brown viewed R. Kelly. When he began working for him in 1997, Milton served as one of countless assistants to R. Kelly, and serving as an assistant to the celebrity meant wearing many hats. Now, Milton served as a driver, taking Kelly and his family, Kelly's friends, singers, musicians, mentees, and their family wherever they needed to go. Now, Milton served as a runner, a staffer who went to the bank and picked up cash at the superstar's frequent request. Milton would even transform into a basketball player when the superstar needed individuals to play against in his late night pickup games. You'll learn that these various tasks were not only asked of Milton, but also the many staffers who worked for R. Kelly. The government wants you to believe that Milton served as a right hand man to his employer, but you'll hear that R. Kelly surrounded himself with a number of people. The number of people at Kelly's beck and call on any given day and at any given hour range from agents to business managers, lawyers, accountants, a variety of artists and other staff members. Some were high on the totem pole, others were assistants, runners, and errand boys, just like Milton Brown. Now, during this trial, you will come to learn that one thing remained true. Every employee knew their place and quickly learned the rules in a carefully siloed system that R. Kelly arranged to keep staffers unaware of his private dealings. Yikes! But I know you lying.
Oh, okay.
Okay? I know you lying, girl. I mean, child, please. Okay? I know you lying. But
Oh, okay.
anywho, he didn't know. Girl, bye. Girl. Girl, bye. Girl, bye. But
Oh,
like I said,
okay.
okay? Hit that one more time with the one time. Anyways, let's continue. You see, from the beginning of Milton's employment, okay, he had to follow well established rules. Hey, Amisha. Hey, Amisa. My bad, Amisa. He had to follow well established rules. Now, R. Kelly implemented a system of control and isolation well before and throughout Milton's employment. Now, a system that kept everyone who was not on a need to know basis in the dark. You'll hear that guests and employees could not walk around R. Kelly's home or studies freely, if at all. And guests were confined. Sorry, I almost had to sneeze. Ugh. To one space. Employees had to knock on any given surface and announce themselves. Ooh, interesting. Oh, that's interesting. Employees too. Interesting enough. Mm. Let me highlight that. Interesting enough. It says employees had to knock on any given surface and announce themselves before walking into or through any space within a home or his multiple studios. Interesting enough to know that the employees had to live by this as well, y'all. It wasn't just his girlfriends, if you will, or lovers, if you will. This man had everybody doing this. Interesting. You'll learn that employees were not allowed to speak to and sometimes even look at guests, males, including male friends of R. Kelly's and male staff members, such like Milton, were not to speak to any of R. Kelly's musicians, guests, or female companions. You'll hear from other employees that doing so meant risking their paychecks for days, weeks, months, or ultimately losing their jobs. Mm, mm. So, what did all of this mean for Milton? Well, Milton followed the rules. He kept his head down and did all the odd jobs he was asked to do as an assistant. This is the lens through which the evidence in this trial against Milton should be heard. This is the lens through which the evidence in this trial should be viewed. In 2001, many believed rumors circulating that Kelly had fallen prey to extortion and retaliation. Like many in the world, Milton believed Kelly was being blackmailed with a faked, doctored sex tape, and that the individuals making these threats were motivated by greed and personal vendettas. This was a common explanation for the rumors around Kelly, one that was adopted by his fans and his employees alike. And those individuals making those threats, they followed through. They released that VHS tape. You'll hear testimony from one of those individuals, Lisa Van Allen, who at that time was, in fact, attempting and charged with soliciting a bribe. Copies of that tape ended up on the street corners in people's homes and ultimately on the internet. Yeah, child, because I saw it in my tender age. Lord, kill the visuals. Why? Because many people looking through the same lens as Milton and going off limited knowledge of Kelly's life believe the video to be fake. I didn't believe it was fake. It was him. That was his old nappy head behind. Testimony will show that at that time, as information regarding the tape circulated on the news, Jane, who authorities believe was the female on the VHS tape, denied that it was her. At that time, her mother denied that it was her daughter on that tape. At the time, back in the early 2000s, her father denied that it was her on the tape. Deprived of the benefit of hindsight, knowing nothing more at that time, it was easy for anyone to believe the rumors or a fake sex tape were true. This would have been the intent of Milton's knowledge, the extent of Milton's knowledge. This was the lens through which Milton and members of the general public were looking when they considered these buzzing rumors of a fake sex tape. Yeah, in 2008, when a Cook County jury acquitted Kelly of any wrongdoing connected to these tapes, everyone around Kelly, beliefs affirmed, went on abiding by his unwritten rules meant to control and isolate everyone around him. Milton was no exception. He continued his duties as an assistant, driving as a chauffeur to Kelly and the various artists under his employees' mentorship, carrying Kelly's bags to and from the car and bus, and picking up and dropping off money at Kelly's request. Yeah, Milton would not have known more than the general public about what was being reported at that time. And the reporting at the time certainly suggested that this tape was a fake. There will be no direct evidence that Milton was knew what was on the VHS tape issued in this case. Instead, the government will present circumstantial evidence that Milton might have been aware of some alleged conspiracy. They'll present financial records. For instances, they'll offer testimony about a check written to Milton 15 years ago that the government will argue was used to pay off co-conspirators. But you will learn that Milton routinely carried large amounts of cash for R.Kelly, the celebrity, whether he was on tour in America or around the world, or right here in Chicago. Now, before, during, and after the events in question, you will hear that Milton did nothing outside of the course of normal employment duties as an assistant to R. Kelly. Never did he believe that going about his normal everyday work duties, or that by virtue of taking a job serving as an assistant to R. Kelly, his life would take this dramatic turn. But hindsight is 2020. If anyone asks who R. Kelly is today, well, you would certainly hear a much different perspective. Yeah, than that what you would have heard if someone asked who R. Kelly was at the time in question. So, sitting here today, you have the benefit of hindsight. But back then, when this alleged conspiracy is said to have taken place, Milton did not have that benefit. You do not impugn what was gained through decades of investigation across countless government agencies onto what Milton knew to be true back then. We are asking you to look through the same lens available to the world in Milton Brown back then because, as you'll learn, Milton, as you learn, what Milton did and did not know is crucial when weighing his guilt or innocence. Like all of Robert's employees at that time, Milton Brown had very little knowledge of his employer's private life, let alone his most closely guarded secrets. He had no knowledge and no reason to think that the sex tape was genuine. He had no knowledge of the identity of the person on the sex tape. He had no knowledge of who his employer really was. After you have viewed all of the evidence and listened to all of the testimony through the lens of Milton Brown back then, we are confident that you will find Milton Brown not guilty of these charges. I thank you. The judge. Government call is first witness, please. Miss Jean. Judge, could we have a sidebar real quickly? The court. All right. And the sidebars are redacted, unfortunately, which sucks because you can find out a lot during those sidebars. But that's an option that the court can take in lieu of pertinent information or privacy. So the sidebars are redacted, but as you guys know, those can be released as the proceedings commence. Okay, so all right. So the sidebar concludes and we can resume. All right. Being a part of the organization. They are admitting to being a part of the organization. However, they're just stating that, oh, they didn't know the depths, child. See what y'all are seeing and what y'all taking witness to or what y'all are hearing today is basically the threats participants. Okay, you are seeing the enterprise collapse. All right, I told y'all last year upon this trial beginning, I was like going through, I was like, us because he was already talking about how R. Kelly owed him money. Remember, I told y'all about this. Now we're hearing, I'm saying, basically that Daryl, is doing the same thing. I don't know if those are two different people, but yeah, McDavid is throwing him under the table, and then what's his name? That gummit, um, June Brown. Brown is throwing him up on the table too, basically saying, "Oh no, we didn't know he was a monster. Oh no, we didn't know what he was doing. You know what I'm saying? We was just, we didn't know all the extent." So basically, they're throwing R. Kelly, your boy, up under the bus. Basically saying, "Yeah, he is all those things, but please, oh no, we were just doing what we were supposed to be doing. We didn't know." So that's what it is. But yeah, they're saying they're a part of the organization, the enterprise, but they didn't know. They just had no idea. So I hope y'all understand that. Let me go ahead and scroll down. Okay, everybody's good. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. Okay. The judge. The government call is first witness. Miss Pozzolo. The government calls Dr. DR.TURNER, witness sworn. The judge. Please be seated. Remove your mask while you testify, sir. Daryl Turner, government's witness sworn, direct examination. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Can you please state and spell your name for the record? Yes. Yes, ma'am. I'm Dr. Daryl Turner, DARREL, and Turner is like it sounds. What is your occupation? I'm a clinical psychiatrist. Do you have a specialty in your practice? My specialty is in forensic psychology, with a focus in the area of sexual offending. At a very high level, can you please tell us the difference between clinical psychology and forensics psychology? Sure. If I'm working in a clinical capacity, then I'm providing treatment, making diagnosis, treatment plans, recommendations, working at hospitals. And in forensics works, it's basically anytime there's an intersection between the law and psychology. Okay. I like to start out by asking about your educational background. Can you please give us an overview of your education? Sure. I have a bachelor and master's in psychology and counseling psychology, respectfully. I have a doctorate or a PhD in clinical psychology from Sam Houston State University. And I completed my pre-doctoral internship at a federal correctional institute for the Federal Bureau of Prisons in Fort Worth, Texas. Hey! Texas. Ooh.
Rewind.
Texas. Let me run it back. Run that back. For the Federal Bureau of Prisons in Fort Worth, Texas. Okay. Now, are you a licensed clinical psychiatrist? Psychologist? Yes, ma'am. What does it mean to be licensed? Well, it means different things in different jurisdictions. But for the most part, you have to have, in my case, and it was 2,000 hours of supervised practice after you complete everything and you have your doctorate. And then you have to pass it's called the EPPP, which is our version of the MCAT or something, jurisprudence exams. I had to pass an oral exam in front of the board, and then submit for uh, license. I think it's license. I don't know if they got that spelled wrong. Um, with recommendation letters. And then every year you have to maintain your continuing education units and things like that. In what states are you licensed? Louisiana and Texas. And you stated that you do both clinical psychology and forensic psychology, focusing on the clinical side first. And can you describe the different areas that you practice? Yes, ma'am. I'm contracted with an inpatient psychiatric hospital locally. So I do rounds and help them with testing there. I do a lot of work with veterans who are getting out of the service or have been out of the service trying to get benefits and things like that. I also do testing for adults, but mostly for children for special education programs and accommodations, things for that nature. And then I'm also always involved in research and just basic evaluations that people request for various reasons. People that have substance abuse problems, but are trying to get back to work or have access to their children again, things like that. Can you please describe what type of forensic work you do as a psychologist? Sure. A lot of the work that I do is competence, competency evaluations, sanity evaluations for public defenders out of Houston. But most of my forensic work is in the area of sexual offending, the risk assessment and evaluation treatment of sexual offenders. In in addition to the work you've just described, do you also work as a consultant? Yes, ma'am. In what capacity have you served as a consultant in the area of sex offending in particular? Sometimes I'll be asked to consult on an active serial case of pedophilic offenders or serial rapist case. But remind me of the initial question. I think I got off a topic. Do you work with certain agencies, federal agencies, as a consultant as well? Yes, ma'am. I work with the FBI, with NCIS, Homeland Security. I've worked directly with the military. And so those are some of the different agencies that I work with and consult with. But a lot of the time when I'm consulting, I'm working with victims of sexual abuse. I'm consulted on cases where there is numerous of child victims, and I will go in and talk with them. I'm asked to do that a lot and with increasing frequency. During your career as a clinical psychologist, have you authored any publications? Yes, ma'am. What are some of the topics of those publications? A lot of what I was just talking about. Things like grooming, which and the impact that grooming has on victims of sexual abuse. I've also published on uh, s- uh, psych, psychopath, and sorry, y'all see that, y'all know I'll be fumbling mumbling of words, and some of the instruments that we use in the field that would probably put someone to sleep, and risk assessments in general, ethical considerations in forensic evaluations. And there is an instrument that I've invented that's being published now. In terms of research, can you please describe some of the notable research that you've conducted in the field of psychology? Hey, Rita Running. Yes. Yes, ma'am. We've done a lot of work in Texas with sex offenders and re-offense rates and looking at things, risk factors and protective factors that can raise or lower people's risk. I've worked with a tool called the PCLR, which means the degree to which someone has psychopathic traits, and I've been pretty prolific in that area as it relates to sex offending. And again, I think I might have said this, but I've published on grooming and the impact this that it has on the victim long term as well as short term. Now, do you also present at international and national conferences? Yes, ma'am. As an example, can you tell us about a conference that you presented at earlier this month? Yes, ma'am. I presented at the Dallas Crimes Against Children Conference, which is the largest conference of its kind in the world. There was about 6,000 people there, and I presented on grooming and impact on victims. I was also asked to be an expert as to expert in a previous conference there about grooming and victim impact. I presented on uh paraplegic disorder, paraplegic disorder and fetishes. And I did an introduction of the instrument that I told you about a moment ago. So, does your forensic specialty, as you described it, include a focus on grooming practices employed by adult sex offenders who offend against children? Yes, ma'am. That's been my primary area of focus of testimony and of research. And does your specialty also focus on the dynamics between victims and offenders, including the victim's disclosure of abuse? Yes, ma'am. All of that falls under the umbrella of the impact that it has on the victim in many different ways. Do you also testify in court proceedings as an expert in the field of psychology? Yes, ma'am. Approximately how many times have you testified in state and federal court? I would estimate around 100 at this point, 100 times, give or take. In your experience testifying in federal and state courts, does that include testifying in criminal cases? Yes, ma'am. In the state and federal criminal cases that you have testified in, have you testified on behalf of the government? Yes, ma'am. And have you testified on behalf of the defense? Yes, ma'am. Out of all the testimony that you have offered in federal and state courts, can you estimate how many of these cases were in federal court? I believe, including this testimony, I'm at 25 appearances in federal court to testify. And of those court appearances, how many times have you testified about topics related to child abuse, including the grooming process and delayed disclosure of victims by victims? Every time I've testified in federal court is included. That's been included. Whether I've been called like this as a blind witness or whether I've done an evaluation, because it has all been those types of cases. contact victims, CSAM cases. So it's, you know, I've never testified in federal court about uh, com- uh, competency. For example, it has all been about sexual offending. Regarding your testimony in federal courts, does that testimony take place throughout the United States? Yes, ma'am. Exposal. Your Honor, at this time, the government requests that Dr. Turner be permitted to testify pursuant to Rule 702 on the topics of grooming practices and victim abuser dynamics. Sorry, y'all. Including the victim's delayed disclosure of abuse. Ooh, this is good. So why everybody keep asking, why now? Why now? Why now? Why? You finna hear why the delay in regards to their testimony. But I've never been the one to be like, why now? Like, what the hell did that have to do with anything? But anyway, the judge. Any objections? Jennifer Bonjean. Judge, may I voir dire at this time? The judge, no. You can wait until his cross. Miss Bonjean, okay, I do have an objection, but I will wait. The judge, okay, objection is overruled. Go ahead. I find him to be an expert. Woo! Judge, I like you. Mm, 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 mm. Now, Dr. Turner, I like to ask you some questions about your testimony in this case. Have you reviewed any evidence in this case? No, ma'am. And prior to testifying, were you informed of the names of the defendants in this case? Yes, ma'am. And were you informed of the general charges in this case? Yes, ma'am. Aside from that information, have you interviewed or evaluated any of the defendants in this case? No, ma'am. Have you interviewed or evaluated any of the witnesses in this case? No, ma'am. Have you reviewed reports or other evidence documenting any of the facts of this particular case? No, ma'am. So, if you are not here to testify about the specific events that occurred in this case, can you please describe the nature of your testimony today? Yes, ma'am. I'm here to testify. Can I ask if is this the jury here? Yes, in the middle of the room. I'm a little lost. All right. I'm here to testify about grooming and what that involves and the impact that that has on victims, because the impact and the behavior of victims that are victims of childhood sexual abuse is not what we would expect it to be. And so there's a lot of psychological manipulation that goes on. And I'm here to talk to you about just those facts in general. So, is your testimony here today based on your education, research, and training and experience? Yes, ma'am. And this includes, oh, hold on, sorry, y'all. Let me get this. Hey, baby girl, I'm online right now. I'm gonna call you right back. I'm reading.
I'm stressing.
Don't be. I'm gonna call you right back. I'm finna wrap this up pretty soon, okay? Okay. Oh, I'm gonna call you right back. I promise you, okay? Okay. Oh, that's my niecey, y'all. I'm gonna have to wrap this up pretty soon, but I was going to anyway. And this includes information that you have learned through various studies and work done by other psychologists, psychologist, correct? Yes, ma'am. As an expert witness, are you being compensated by the United States government for your time in this case today? Yes, ma'am. Now, Dr. Turner, the term grooming has come up a few times during the preliminary questions that I've asked you. Can you please explain to the jury what the general definition of grooming is? Sure. Grooming is behaviors that an adult who desires to have sexual contact with a child engages in to gain access to that child, to maintain access to that child, and to prevent that child from disclosing if possible. Okay. So, when you refer to a child, are you referring to individuals who are under the age of 18? Yes, ma'am. And from birth to the age of 18 is a fairly wide range of ages, correct? Yes, ma'am. In your field, do you have terms that differentiate between young children and older children? Yes, ma'am. And what are those terms? So we look at children as victims, as either pre pubis pubic pre pubescent, okay, victims are post pubic, basically before puberty and after puberty, okay, victims. And generally speaking, what is the age range for um prepubescent child victim? It's for a pubescent blah, blah. Y'all see it. Yes. So it would be anything from birth until around 12, 13 years old, something like that. And why is the age typically 12 or 13 when the child is referred to as being post pubescent? Because when a child is 8 almost through, oh, sorry, because when a child is either almost through with puberty or finished with puberty, there are different hormones and things rushing around their body. And they actually start to think about sex and they find themselves attracted to people. And we don't see that with prepubescent children. They're not at that level yet. So, the dynamics of grooming and the impact of the abuse, there are a lot of similarities. But there are also, it looks differently when we're talking about post pubescent versus prepubescent children. Okay. So now you stated that when it comes to grooming, there are some similarities for all children. Can you describe, based on the research and the psychologically community, um, some of those methods of grooming that are commonly used for all children, regardless of the age? Yes, ma'am. Across research and in my own research, we found that when you talk with sexual offenders, the number one goal is to establish some kind of trusting and close relationship. Now, for younger children, that may be more of a parental role or a friend or something like that. But for post pubescent, younger teenage children, very often we see it in the context of what is proposed to them as a romantic relationship. But that establishing of that relationship and the ways that that is done are the things that are common across ages of victims. Okay. And what are some of the other techniques that apply to child victims of all ages. Aside from that creation of the special relationship that you just discussed. Well, we also, there is a few things that we also see in grooming. We also see isolation of the victim by the intended offender. And then we see over time a gradual kind of introduction and normalization of sex with the victim and between the victim and the offender. In other words, letting the victim think that it's okay and that it's something that everyone does and they won't get in trouble, and it's a good thing. So just normalizing it over time verbally and with touching, I should add. Okay. Can you elaborate more on how the touching factors into the grooming process? Yeah. Yes, ma'am. When someone is grooming an intended victim, it's it's very rarely is it an ambush. Kind of all of a sudden, everything that's going to happen sexually is going to happen right up front. What we see is a graduated a graduated introduction of sexual themes and sexual ideas. So maybe hugs, and then maybe the hugs become squeezes, and then we see, pats on the bottom, and then that becomes squeezes, and so you see a progression. And what that does, it slowly indoctrinates the victim into feeling comfortable in that sexual contact. And it also serves as a kind of testing the waters for the offender, because if the offender gets to a point of touching where the victim becomes uncomfortable, then it's time to either back up, slow it down, or go to another victim. Okay. So is one way to introduce sex based on the research conducted in this field showing the victim pornography? Absolutely. And why is that one of the methods of grooming that has come up in the research in this field? Well, especially since the internet. You know, if you look at old studies that was used to intent. If you look at current studies, it's used all the time. What that serves to do is, and it usually starts as kind of like, hey, come look at this funny video, or I accidentally left my pornography up on my laptop and they walked in, something to that effect. But it's just that, adults and children don't look at pornography together. So it's presented as this sort of, hey, this is just something harmless and fun, and look what they're doing. And what that does is it places that sexuality in the middle of those two people. It's also served in some cases as like a training, because the children are so young that the offenders will show them pornography to kind of, show them what they want them to do, or train them, that sort of thing. Now, you've just described some grooming methods that, in your experience, are used to groom all children. Looking at post-pubescent children in particular. Now, are there other methods or things introduced to the relationship that are found more commonly with the post-pubescent children? Yes, ma'am. And what are some of those? Well, with post-pubescent children. So 13, 14, 15, 16, we see the offenders tend to do things like give alcohol, give drugs, let them get away with things that they're not supposed to do, like being out and staying out. And then when the post pubescent victims, we very often see that the relationship is presented to them as, I love you and this is special and I know that you love me too, and the world says this is wrong, but we feel that it's not wrong, and look how magical this is, so it takes often a romantic turn once once the child has reached that again. Miss Bonjean, Judge, I'm going to object to the doctor's general testimony about it often. Does this it often? This is very indoctrinal. It doesn't sound based in research or any type of. So this is just indoctrinal and has no application since he has not examined Mr. Kelly. So I'm going to object to this line of questioning, particular to the extent that he is talking about we often see this, we often see that. The judge overrule. You can tackle that on cross examination. Thank you. Dr. Turner, you mentioned isolation as one of the areas that comes up in grooming research in your experience. Can you describe for the jury more about what you mean by isolation? Sure. The offender is going to try to isolate the victim as much as they can physically. And when it can't happen physically, then there's a lot of contact. There's emails, there's phones, there's social media, there's texting. Hey, West Coast Bells in the building. So, what isolation does is it prevents other people as much as you can isolate the victim. It prevents other people from doing, hey, hold on, something's off here. Something's wrong. This doesn't seem right. Is everything okay? The more time the offender can spend with the victim, two things happen. One, there is less chance of someone else there is less chance of someone else coming in and fixing things. And number two, this gradual indoctrination of sexual ideas and sexuality can continue uninterrupted. So, when you refer to the concept of isolation, does that also require physical isolation? As much as is possible, yes, but we do see that happening online now that social media is so big as well. Now, given that your research and experience is in adult offenders and child abuse victims, have you studied the area of the power differential? And can you explain what that means? Yes, ma'am. For children, an adult is, someone that you have to listen to, that you have to obey. It's someone that has a certain amount of power. And so that power differential is something that makes the grooming process go much smoother because the child is already in a position where they feel like they are a little subservient to that adult anyway, so especially if you have someone that's like a teacher or a coach or a politician or something like that, then you have an even greater power of differential, so That's a huge part of the grooming process. And as more time is spent between the offender and the child in the grooming process, as you've described it, it's ongoing. How does favoritism factor into that process? Ooh, where that? Okay, there you go. Yeah, favoritism is huge. I've interviewed thousands of sex offenders. I've worked hundreds and hundreds of cases. I've interviewed and done therapy with hundreds of victims. All there is much in the majority of these cases. Um, they'll tell you that they felt so special in the offender's eyes. They received so much attention, so much favoritism. They were their favorite child or favorite student or favorite whatever, the case may be. And they were very, very special. And that's what children want to hear. They want to hear, so that's how favoritism becomes such an effective grooming tool. Now, you also testified that abusers commonly introduce the idea of sex gradually, sometimes through conversations about sex first. Is that right? Yes, ma'am. Does the grooming process also include conversation about topics that are not sexual? Almost always. Yes, ma'am. And how does that work in terms of the research and experience that you have in this area of grooming? What happens is that as when an offender just spends platonic healthy attention time with that victim, it does two things. One, it lowers the victim's defense. And then when people are asking the victim about things, if they do, then the victim can point to all of this just regular conversation that they've had. In addition, when adults find that out and other people become suspicious, it acts as this sort of plausible deniability. Well, hey, it's not, he was talking with her. I spoke with the victim or him, and there was a lot of time that there wasn't any kind of sexuality going on. That happens especially early, so that makes caregivers feel more comfortable, allowing this contact to continue very often unsupervised. Dr. Turner, you mentioned that adults close to the victim may start finding out or asking questions. So, my follow up question on that is, how does the grooming process relate to the child's victims, uh, parents, or close family members? So, there is an element of grooming called grooming the environment, right? For a long time, we studied grooming only in the context of the victims. But about 15, 20 years ago, there started to be publications that looked at grooming the environment, and that includes parents. What? That includes what? What? What that includes? Yeah, yeah, let me run that back.
Rewind.
About 15, 20 years ago, there started to be publications that looked at grooming the environment. And that includes parents, teachers, anyone that's going to want to protect the child from an offender. And that's done by things like spending platonic time with children. Sometimes offenders will target children that they have no intentions of having in sexual contact with for that plausible deniability. Well, he hung out with Jimmy for years and Jimmy says nothing ever happened that and that kind of thing. Okay, so in your experience, are there instances where an offender uses the victim to groom a new victim? Absolutely. Okay. And how does that I'm sorry. How does that play out in the research that you've reviewed? What that does is, for the same reason that offenders will often show child pornography to victims when another child comes to someone as a would-be victim and essentially recruits them. Then that child's guard is down because the thinking is, if it was so bad, if something horrible was happening, this child wouldn't be trying to pull me into that. Very often the children that do that are children that have already been abused by the person, and the grooming process is full swing. So they see this person as someone special, that sees them as someone special, and they feel like they're doing something to help, you know. So they're usually quite enthusiastic about it. It's kind of surprising. Okay. So after the offender is successful in establishing a sexual relationship with a child, does the grooming process end? No, not at all. No, ma'am. Mm, okay. So how does the grooming process continue after the adult and the child are having sex? After the sexual contact has progressed to the point where it's whatever the adult intend, in the first place, there is still an element of keeping the child available for sexual contact, you know, and that's done by this continued reinforcement of whatever the special relationship, that's been created was. That's reinforced. And then also remember, that grooming is in part the goal is to prevent disclosure. Okay. So the grooming process becomes things like, hey, don't tell no one, and it's not, or I'll get in trouble. It's very often, well, we'll get in trouble, the both of us. You'll get in trouble because the victim is groomed to believe that they are responsible for their own abuse, you know. Okay. In situations where the victims are post-pubescent or over, 12 or 13 years old, has your research and experience shown whether victims develop romantic feelings towards their abuser? Yes, ma'am. And as the victims' love and attachment to the abuser grows, what does your research and experience show about how the victim views her role in that relationship? Well, this happens all the time. Research indicates that law enforcement believes in post pubescent victims, that over half of them truly feel that they are in love with their offender. Miss Bojing, I'm going to object to the use of statistics in the course of this examination. Judge, if you want to do a sidebar, I can give a better argument. But I think statistics are inappropriate. There is authority for that. The judge. Overrule. He is an expert. He can rely upon research that he considers valuable. OG. That's fine, Judge. I'll handle it on cross examination. The witness. Can you repeat the question? Yes. As a victim's love and attachment to the abuser grows, what does your research and experience show about how the victim views her role in the relationship? So, the victims, especially post pubescent victims, when the relationship that's created is one that's, coached in love and a very special connection, um, it becomes less and less likely that the victim will disclose. And it also, we seen even well after the abuse has stopped, that a lot of these victims will still be defensive of their offenders. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Rewind.
Mm, 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 mm. Even no, don't need that. Need this. Even well after the abuse. Stop. Even well after the abuse has stopped, a lot of these victims will still be defensive of their offenders. Mm. Will still feel in love with their offender, even into adulthood, will reach out to their offender. And they also feel especially um, compatible and responsible for what happened to them because of how they were groomed. After the abuse, uh-oh. It jumped off. Okay. All right. We back. Hold on. I saw it jumped off. Let me see something real quick, y'all. Okay, there we go. We back. Okay, we back. Sorry about that, y'all. I just saw the screen jump, making sure I didn't lose you guys. But this is the last page. Let's continue. Okay, so basically, this is a very good question. This will answer a lot of people questions as to like, why now? Why are they talking now? Why they didn't say anything then? Why they didn't tell a police officer? Blah blah blah. We're gonna hear why from a specialist. Okay, all right. Let me highlight that question. So after the abuse begins and it's ongoing, why? What does the research, okay, not what you people that ain't even went through abuse, shows, okay, about why a victim does not report it to an officer, a adult, such as a parent, teacher, or police officer, okay? So here is the answer, all right? Primarily because of what I said earlier. Because at that age, the grooming is usually, the efforts to prevent disclosure is usually no one is going to believe you. You're going to get in trouble. Something catastrophic is going to happen to your family. We are going to get in trouble. And in about 20% of cases, my research has found and is replicated by other studies, about a fifth of the time at the point of the offender, at that point, the offender can say, if you disclose this to anyone, if you tell anyone, we won't be able to hang out anymore. We won't have this relationship anymore. And even though that relationship is based on sexual abuse, it has become so important and sensual in those victims' lives that a lot of times they won't disclose simply to not lose the contact with their own offender. And I tell you, my people, that is completely sad, but it is very true. Yes, ma'am. And can you please walk us through what some of those research studies show? There's 3 very well-known studies that have similar findings. About 60 to 80% of children that are sexually abused don't report it at all until adulthood. About 20 to 25% never report it. You know, I'm going to keep going because it looked like we'll be wrapping up. Yeah. I'm going to keep going. Let me see. Yeah, this would be a good place to stop. Okay, yeah, I'm going to keep going. And about 60% wait at least 5 years before they disclose anything. And that may not be a full disclosure to law enforcement. That just may be telling a friend part of it. So that's what the research indicates across studies. Your Honor, may I have one moment, please? The judge. Pardon? May I have one moment to confer? All right. I have nothing further at this time. The judge. Ms. Bogine, you may cross-examine. Okay. Sorry about that, y'all. I don't know what happened. I don't know what had happened. Okay, we're gonna stop there. Okay, sorry about that, y'all. I got booted out. I got it booted out my own stuff. Okay, sorry, y'all. But all right, y'all, we're gonna stop right there. We're gonna stop on page what was that? What would it? Y'all mark this down. 569. Okay. We're gonna stop on page 569. All right. Okay. Let me see what you guys had to say in the chat, and then we're gonna wrap this up. I don't want this to be too long for those that are playing it back. Okay. All right. Hey, Queen Keys, you came in a little late. Hey, honey bunches. Okay. Hey, warrior. I think I said hi, but I want to say hi again. Queen Key says, happy you're back and reading the transcripts. I needed full details, not listening to the PI. Well, again, for those that are just coming in, what had happened was that I woke up to a huge blessing, financial blessing by a subscriber, right? And so you remember I was collecting monies from you guys last year to go for the transcripts, you know, and I wasn't gonna do y'all like that, just be like, I'm not reading transcripts. It is what it is, you know what I'm saying? Y'all are more than welcome to venture out to hear other people read transcripts. You know, we all read these differently. So I got the coin and I put some with something, and I bought the transcripts from yesterday. Trial started on Monday, but it was more so what is it called, jury selections and stuff like that. And so I've been gone. I just came back from a allergy flare up, a little cold or whatever. And so I said, let me get the recent one, which was yesterday. And I thought maybe I'll get past all the convertible, which I did. And I have the other part of it. I kind of wanted to get into the gusto get to the gusto of it. I am going to get the other portion because, like I said, this financial blessing from this subscriber was a major of, and including what you guys sent out. So what we just started is the afternoon edition portion of the transcripts. I will get the other documents. I'll try to send for that later on today, and I will catch us up. But I'm gonna finish what we have here, and then if we gotta run it back, and all these transcripts will be available. I do have a what is it called? I have a playlist. All right. So it will be all in numeric order. I'm going to try my best to make sure I keep all my titles consistent and coherent so you guys will be able to catch up. But yes, I got, a blessing or whatever, a financial blessing. And then I had collected all you guys' monies, and you guys have been blowing me up. Are you going to be reading? Are you going to be? And like I told y'all initially, I was not. Okay. But I am going to, because I want to be able to, put y'all monies where you guys wanted it to go. Okay. Yes, he does. He has credentials. It says the doctor has credentials. I don't know why Bonjean questions him just because he went to University of Phoenix. My thing is, Bonjean is catty. She's very catty, and I'm just kind of over her. She's very ghetto in the courtroom, and I say that, and people always think that word it just goes to black people. No, you can be ghetto and be of any ethnicity. Okay, if you acting ignorant, you can be ghetto. Okay, and she gives me ghetto vibes and just ignorant. And if you know her history and her background, and seriously, if you do your research, she's like this in the courtroom all over. Every courtroom that this woman has been to, she has been ignorant with the judge, and a lot of judges do not like this woman because of that fact. She's very ignorant in the courtrooms, and she just has this sense of entitlement, and they don't really like her. Like, seriously, do your research. Lisa says, I'm so happy to see you reading the transcript. The PI is so biased where I can't really know what's really going on in this case. Thank you. You're absolutely welcome. And if you guys like to donate, you can see my Cashapp is located at the bottom of the screen. I have PayPal, I have Zelle, and I have Cashapp. Please, 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 your donations will go into it. Look, I'm telling you, I'm using donations that y'all sent in last year, okay? Last year to go towards the transcripts, and I kept my word. That's why I said no, ma'am. I was like, I can't do people like that. So if you like to send your donations, you can send it to Whitney D TV 87 at my Cash App. I got PayPal at Whitney D TV, and I also have Zelle. My email reviewswithWhitneyD at gmail.com. Okay. But not for nothing, you guys. We're gonna wrap this up. I'll probably come to you guys a little later. Probably tonight, probably this evening. I usually do my straight talks. Probably a pre-record my straight talks or what have you, but I'm not quite sure. But I will be back with the rest of the transcripts, and this is the portion that I have. So I'm gonna read what I got. Okay. Let me see who else is in these comments. Let me see. Hey, Sophia. Hey, Lynn. Hey, T Bam in the building. Lynn says, I love your content at Whitney D. I love your content, and you are a true inspiration to me and others who have been Oh, you are so welcome. Thank you. You are so welcome. To God be the glory. And that's what keeps me going. Y'all have sent me some of the most beautifulest messages when I was just feeling low and down and, and not sure of myself. And y'all just reassured me to keep going. And I'm grateful of that. We all need a little inspiration, a little light. I post you guys a little gift that my husband got me. It was so beautiful. I don't know if y'all got to see. Y'all gotta go check out my community tab. I get very personable with you guys. Check out my Facebook, my Instagram. My husband sent me this beautiful, beautiful 12 dozen little ladybugs, chocolate covered strawberries, and it was very inspirational. Y'all go check that out. That was so sweet, and I needed that. And I need all your messages and stuff like that. That gives me motivation and strength to carry on. So thank y'all so very much. I appreciate that. Sophia says, Whitney, tell me, how is my beloved friend Robert Kelly in custody? Well, sweetie, we're reading the transcripts, and that's how you'll figure out how he got in custody. This man is being accused of now in Chicago of messing around with real kids. These ain't no grown folks ain't even close to it. These are real real children, okay? All of the under the age of 16. So that's how your baby got in custody. All right. And this is no alleged. These are videotapes. This is evidence. Okay. But anyways, you guys, again, I do not, hey, Aaron, I do not want to hold you guys up any longer. I just want to tell you guys, I appreciate you guys so very much. And I will be back. Y'all just watch the pre-schedulings as they come in. I'm not going to promise you guys days anymore. I'm just going to come on when I come on and when I feel like it. Okay. But I'm going to go grab me some lunch, and I will talk to you guys soon. I pray you guys have a blessed and safe Thursday and enjoy your weekends. Okay. I love you guys so very much, but most of all, God loves you guys. Be encouraged. Aw, the unspoken. I'm finna head up out of here, but you can be a part of the playback gang and listen in. Okay. All right, you guys. I am out.
What the hell is wrong with you people? Every famous nigga that gets arrested is not Nelson Mandela? Yes, the government conspires to put a lot of innocent black men in jail on fallacious charges. But R. Kelly is not one of those men. We all know the nigga can sing. But what happened to standards? What happened to bare minimums? You a fan of R. Kelly? You want to help R. Kelly? Then get some counseling for R. Kelly. Introduce him to some older women. Hide his camcorder. But don't pretend like the man is a hero.
Welcome, everybody. I'm Whitney D of Whitney D TV and the producer of When Time Stopped. And I am here to let you guys know that we are casting for When Time Stopped 2, a docu-series on childhood sexual abuse. Now, myself, along with 3 other individuals, told our stories, but we want to hear from you. Now, are you ready to tell your story? Are you a survivor or are you a parent? We would like to hear from you. Here's how you can submit.
When Time Stopped 2, now casting. Seeking female and male adults ready to share their story of sexual abuse or parents of a child or children that have suffered from sexual abuse, and you are ready to speak about your journey. Email your story and contact information to whitneydavisplanning@gmail.com. Suja, meaning long, beautiful life, embodies the promise that flows from the cold-pressed beverages it delivers in each and every bottle. Now today they carry on their founder's mission to get the best quality organic and non-GMO beverages into as many hands as possible. Now I am happy to say I am one of those hands. Yes, I'm Whitney D of Whitney D TV, and I am a proud ambassador of Suja Juice. I love personally their vibrant probiotic juice, and their immunity elderberry shots got me and my family through the roughest times of COVID-19. Now, if you want to find a quick and resourceful way to take on all of your vitamins and nutrients, try sujajuice.com. Visit the description box down below to get more information and let them know that Whitney D or Whitney D TV sent you. Bye.
sujajuice.com, okay? And you can actually pick up this juice at any of your retail stores, Walmart or Whole Foods. I am a brand ambassador, okay? sujajuice.com, okay?